This was the most disruptive keyboard of 2022. It literally steamrolled in, put every other keyboard on notice, regardless of its price point. Speaking of price, for something around $150, this keyboard literally made people question why they spent $500 on another custom. If you don't know by now, I'm talking about the QK65 by Qwertykeys. The biggest problem with this board is that many of you slept on it and missed the sale. It was too bad, so sad, until now. If you wanted the QK65 but missed it, well, there is this thing now, the Cub65 by Cub Studios, and guess who else? Qwertykeys. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Scott K. Yes, the QK65 was the most hyped up keyboard of 2022, and for great reason. It literally put the custom keyboard community on its head that many of us missed the group by, and then kicked ourselves for doing so. Well, some good news for you guys. If you really wanted the QK65 and you just can't justify some of the crazy prices out there for it, then you're in luck. The Cub65 is right here. It's a collaboration between Cub Studio and Qwertykeys. Cub Studio's designed the look of the keyboard and Qwertykeys is the manufacturer. It's literally a rounded, cuddly, teddy bear looking version of the QK65. It sounds and feels pretty similar too. And guess what? The price starts around $165. So can the Cub65 fill that massive hole in your life that was left when you missed the QK65 group buy? Well, let's check it out. So right off the bat, you can see that the Cub65 has a much more playful demeanor. You can even see it in the box design. It's like the most crazy colorful thing I've seen ever. Then you go into the carrying case and the flair continues. Inside you find some goodies included like some screwdrivers, tweezers, some nice keycap and switch pullers as well. You also got the gaskets and the feet for the keyboard, some nice owl stabs, and finally a 2.4 GHz receiver if you decide to go with the wireless PCB. You'll also get a coiled USB cable, well, just because. And yes, let's embrace the fact that this is 2023, and it also had Qwertykeys backing it, right? So foam and lots of it. There's quite a bit of it, right? Like including a silicone sheet like the QK65 had. So you can get this keyboard with like 4 different types of PCB. The one you see right here is the wireless version, which comes with the FlexCut standard and no RGB. But as you can see right here, there are wired ones you can get that also has the FlexCuts or without the FlexCuts in both ANSI and ISO. So lots of different options. So in this wireless version, you do have this little switch right here, similar to the PCB you have seen in like the QK60 and the QK75. As expected, the FlexCuts do provide quite a bit of bounce, and it's especially noticeable because this PCB is also only 1.2 millimeters thick. Underneath it all, you got the standard KL hot swap sockets. Here's a quick look at the wired non-FlexCut PCB also. Instead, it has the RGB per key, which I would say is actually of great quality. So it's up to you whether you want the extra flex or not. Moving on to the plate, the Cub65 will also have an option of 4 different plates. I received the palm and the FR4 plates with my sample. As you can see, the palm plate doesn't have flex cuts since the material itself is pretty flexible. The same will also be said for the PC plate as well. But the FR4 plate and the Allo plate will feature the flex cuts as you see right here with this FR4. So the case I received is the E-White with the blue lower weight. Overall, the quality of the case was excellent and the electrophoresis coating was nice and smooth and even. One thing to note is that the white is not really stark white. It's more of a warmer tone, so keep that in mind. Besides the rounded edges and the corners, you can also see that the bezels of the case is actually pretty thin. So the keyboard is more compact than other 65% out there. So I'll show you that later. On the right corner, you also have the option of going with many different animal themed badges. Like the selection is pretty intense, as you can see right here, with different colors and animals and just all sorts of craziness going on. It's like a zoo. Out of all these, I received this overly excited whale. If you flip the case over, you can see the Cub Studio logo right here, and the finish on the stainless steel weight is very nice. It's matte with 2 different tones. So what I mean by that is that on one side it's blue, but the other side is this chroma purple. So overall, it's actually a very cool design. As you look around the case, you can see that the theme of the Cub65 is like roundedness. One last thing about the case is that it has a hidden screw design, so the case screws are located on the inside to keep the keyboard looking nice and clean and screwless on the outside. Before we go into the build itself, a quick word from our sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is an online service that helps you print PCBs, do 3D printing, or even CNC machining. If you're an aspiring keyboard designer or whatever else designer, you can take your design and simply upload it to get something made quick. Or, if you have the source code for a PCB that you already have and you need a replacement, you can also get that done as well. They can handle all types of PCBs from your simple single layer designs to multi-layer stacks. Beyond PCBs, if you want to try making your own case, PCBWay can machine that as well. Now, a very exciting new service that PCBWay offers, OEM. Instead of just making a single component, you can actually task PCBWay to be an OEM manufacturer and make the whole thing. They can do anything from PCBs to CNC cases to even assembly. And using global manufacturing, they can offer very competitive prices. Is there a keyboard on the horizon? Well, check out OEM at PCBWay. Now, for this first build, I'm going to go wired. So instead of the battery pack, use these little foam blockers in the little crevices. Then I'm going to use a provided silicone mat that snaps right in. For this build, I'm going to skip the case foam and the PE foam so you can hear what it sounds like more standard. I will, however, use the plate foam since this build will feature the palm plate, and it's super pain to put the switches into a plate like this without the foam to support it, so. And for stabs, I decided to go with the TX stabs since they come specifically made for these 1.2mm PCBs. This is what it looks like with the plate assembly complete. For switches, I decided to go with the new JWK Blueys. These are nice and smooth linears with a very light action, 58-gram spring, and a nice long pull sound. If you recall, the QK65 didn't use traditional pour-on gaskets. Instead, you use these little silicone gasket socks, as you see right here with the Cub65 as well, so a lot of resemblance. They just fit on the plate tabs like this, and the entire thing just sits into the lower case like this. Now, here's the final finished look. For keycaps, I decided to keep with the ocean animal theme and use a set of PBTfans Deep Sea Predator. I mean, the little blue whale is probably the furthest thing from being a predator, but hey, why not, right? This is how it looks complete, so it's pretty clean. What about the sound? Let's check it out. Overall, there's no bad sound coming from this keyboard. It's a nice and clean deep sound with no ping or hollowness, and even without the case foam or the PE foam, it sounds really good. However, it is on the side of being more quiet like this. What about the flex, right? It's actually very flexible in this configuration since there's no foam to impede the movement, the plate is soft, and everything's pretty soft. But what if I use all the foam, right? What if I do another build with the PE foam and the plate foam and all the other stuff inside? And this time, literally, I'll be using the batteries along with the wireless PCB, so it's a little bit different. Plus, I will also stuff this thing, the lowercase foam, and also the little anti-static sheet they provided as well. So it's full house. This is what it looks like complete, with the white FR4 plate. So it's pretty nice and clean. Kind of like the other QK60 and the QK75 boards, you can access the on and off switch by removing a keycap. In this case with the Cub65, it's the backslash. Since I used a stiffer plate and stuffed the case with foam, how did it impact the flex? Well, it's not as soft as the palm build, but definitely still has a nice little bit of flex you could rely on, so not bad. Then what about the sound, right? So let's check it out. Yep, as expected, it has that signature Qwertykeys Owl Lab sound, that marbly, deeper sound. It's actually very similar to the QK65. So if you missed the QK65 and still want that board, I mean, it came back but kind of looking different, right? And it's called Cub65 now. And remember what I said about the whole bezel thing? Well, I put this thing next to a Gyro65, and while they have an overall similar curves, the Cub65 is noticeably more compact, so if size matters to you, keep that in mind. Now, what are my final thoughts then? Well, like I said, the Cub65 is essentially if QK65 went through some plastic surgery and came back a similar but different keyboard. I feel like deep inside, it still bears the soul of the original QK65, but it wants to identify as a Cub65 now. And at the end of the day, if you want the sound and typing feel of the QK65 and don't mind the more rounded cutesy look, then hey, the Cub65 is that keyboard for you. It also comes in so much different variations and options that you could really make that exact combination you want. So with that said, for $165 starting, I would say that this is a solid option for those looking to get into a great keyboard for a good price as well. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll have more content for you in the future. Thanks.